Hey, it's me, Crystal, and today I'm going to show you how to make a whole bunch of different macrame gnome ornaments. Alright, to start, you're going to want some empty toilet paper rolls, and these are pretty easy to come by. And we're going to use these for the hats. You can get 6 little rings out of these if you cut them evenly, so I'm just going to cut it in half. And then once you cut it in half, just cut each half into 3 equally sized rings. And then you got enough to make 6 gnome hats with just 1 toilet paper roll. There we go. There's our 6 little rings, and I'll make some more. I have lots of toilet paper rolls. Then for this first one, we're going to start with a 2-inch wooden ring. And I just have some scrap cord. It really doesn't matter what size. Mine's about 4mm, I believe. And what you're going to do is figure out how long you want their beard to be, or their hair if you're doing the girl one. And you're just going to eyeball it and say, okay, that's about how long I want my beard to be. So no specific measurements needed. And then I took 6 pieces and I went ahead and cut them all that same length. And you're going to attach them to your wooden ring with a lark's head knot. And I will show you how to do the one with the beard, and then I'll show you how to do the girl version with the braids as well. Alright, so ladies first, let's go ahead and do the braided version. And you're just going to split the cords in half, so 3 are on one side and 3 are on the other. And then you're just going to do a simple braid to braid like you're making her a little braided pigtails. So you just do this all the way down on this side, and then we're going to tie it together with just a piece of decorative twine or whatever you have. It really doesn't matter. And you can always add a piece of ribbon or something to make a pretty little bow at the bottom. I have this sparkle twine that I got at the Hobby Lobby Christmas department. So I just cut a piece of that. Again, no specific measurement, just cut a piece big enough to tie the end of the braid. And I just did a double knot. I didn't do a bow or anything. You could, but I have plans to add some ribbon later, so I'm going to do that. And then just go ahead and repeat that with the other braid. Very simple. Try to get it even so it's the same amount, same length as the other one. You don't want to have uneven braids. And then go ahead and tie it off. And then you can go ahead and cut the excess off if you're going to be using ribbon later. I haven't yet, but I will. I'm going to put that off to the side, and now we're going to make the bearded one. So this is very simple. You just go and brush out the beard. It does take a minute, but then once you get it all brushed out, then we have our base gnomes. Now we're going to attach noses. So I have these wooden beads. I will put the size down below in the description. And here's my glue gun that, as you can see, is in really bad shape because I let my kids use it and they have gotten stuff all over it. But you're just going to attach it with a little dab of hot glue right there on the, the top of the beard. And you want to kind of angle the nose so it's pointing toward, like, out a little bit. And there's one, and then that hole will be covered up by the hat, by the way. For the girl version, I'm going to just kind of pull the braids apart a little and attach the bead to the actual wooden ring a little. And then same thing, you're just going to hold it there until it is attached, and you want it kind of leaning forward a little bit. And I'm just attaching it with a little bit more glue here at the base. And you just try not to make it so you can see the hot glue. And of course I had to scrape a little off. I struggle with hot glue. But here we go. That's our base gnomes. So now we just need to make the hats. And I'm just going to show you how to make this hat once because it's the same for all the gnomes. And I just have my little toilet paper ring. And I'm taking some yarn. This is some wool yarn I had in my stash. Here's a couple other options with a thicker yarn and a thinner yarn. And the thing about the thicker yarn is it's way faster. This takes forever. With this green yarn, it took me a long time to get that one done. So I didn't do any more with that thin of yarn. And I'm just using my knitting loom, my small 24 peg knitting loom here, just to measure out the length of the cord or the yarn. You don't have to do this. You don't need a knitting loom for this. It's just what I had on hand. But if you have like a notebook or something that you can just wrap your yarn around so you don't have to sit there and measure it, it's a lot faster. And the length really, it could just be like 12 inches long or something. You're probably gonna have a little extra to cut off because that's just how it goes. But it just makes it simpler. You don't want to sit there and measure out all these strands because you're gonna need a lot of them. Then you're just gonna attach them each to the toilet paper roll with a lark's head knot. And as you can see, if you use a smaller yarn, this just takes a little bit. It's a fun activity to do while you're watching a show or something. So there you go, you got that. You're just gonna continue until it's all full. All right, here we go. I got all my toilet paper roll covered with yarn. Here's how it looks. And here's another one I did with this thicker yellow yarn. And of course the green one that I showed you earlier. For this green one, I attached my yarn with a cow hitch knot, which is just a reverse lark's head. And you see there's no bar at the top. On these two, I did the regular lark's head and there is that bar. And you see this one has this look, so that's up to you. You can do it either way. Here's another one I did with some macrame cord that's much thicker. To finish off the hat, I'm just cutting a short piece of that same yarn I used for this hat, and we're gonna use it to tie it off right about 1.5 inches or so, maybe 1 inch or so above the cardboard tube, and just pull it really good and tight and tie a double knot, and this will make it look like a cute little hat. Then you can just go ahead and trim off any excess yarn and make like a little pom-pom at the top. And now I'm grabbing, I have the decorative twine and some butcher's twine. I kind of go back and forth with those for all these ornaments. But I'm just going to grab the decorative twine and we're going to make the hanging cord for our ornament. So again, I didn't measure, I just held it right by the ring and I figured out how tall the hat was. And you just want it to be tall enough so that your hanging loop has plenty of room up above the hat pom-pom. So however long that is for you, it's up to you. And then you're just going to attach that to your wooden ring with a lark's head knot or cow hitch knot, which is just the reverse version of that. It doesn't matter, you're not going to see this. And then you thread it onto a needle so you can poke it up through the hat. So I have this plastic yarn needle and I'm just sticking it right up through the middle of the hat and then pull it to pull your little gnome into his hat. And then we're going to hot glue a little bit at the ring just to hold the hat on. And then once you get the hat pushed down, you can go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue where the bead is going to be touching the hat to kind of hold that in place. So I just put a little glue in there, try not to make a big mess of it, which I struggled with a lot. And then you just push the bead kind of from the back to attach it to the hat. And usually if you get any hot glue sticking out, you can just scrape it off with something, which is what I was doing right here. And there we go. We have our first gnome most of the way done. Now we're just going to take this hanging cord loop and tie an overhand knot up at the top wherever you want it to be. Just make sure you leave enough space for you to hang it on your tree. And then just cut off the excess. And then again, I'm trimming the pom-pom a little bit more to make it a little more rounded, like a little pom-pom. And then your little gnome is complete and ready for some accessorizing if you want, which I will show you at the end of this video. I'm going to add a bunch of cute accessories, so be sure to stick around. And I'm going to go ahead and brush his beard out again, and then we just got to trim it, give him a little beard trim so it's nice and neat. And there you go. One gnome down. Isn't he cute? Very simple and easy to customize with different colors of yarn or different macrame cord or whatever you want to do. Different hanging cords, lots of options here. All right, now we're going to go back to our girl gnome and do the same thing. I'm just attaching the hanging cord, threading it through the hat. I'm giving her this yellow one, making my overhand knot in the hanging cord. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue so her hat stays on, same way I did for her boyfriend or whatever he is. Glue her little nose a little bit and then just push it all down so it is firmly attached. There we go. And now we just gotta give her a little brushing at the ends of her braids. and trim that up. And I went ahead and cut off that excess cord because I'm going to put some ribbon on there, so I don't really need them. But you could just make them into a bow if you want to do that. That would also work. And give her a little trim to neaten up her ends. We don't want her to have any split ends or anything like that. And then I'm just cutting the pom-pom on the top of her hat down to size. And if you, where you tied the hat, you can just poke that one that kind of wants to stick out funny up underneath. I'm just looping it up so it kind of goes up with the other cords, and then, I don't know, you can, if it bothers you can poke it down inside the hat as well. But there we go, we got our two little gnomes done, the girl and the boy. And I wanted to show you one more option for this with the mustache. We can add a mustache. So I just took the bead and threaded a short piece of macrame cord right through it. And you get this crazy looking mustache. And we're just going to glue the nose on. I've already put the gnome together, put the hat on and all that. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the nose with the mustache sticking out right here. And then I'm going to kind of push it up, push the hat down over it and push the nose up a little so they're touching. And then there you go. That's another easy way to do it. And brush him out again. Brush out his beard. Give him a little beard trim. And there you have our 3 different wood ring gnomes. So that's option number 1. And now I'm going to show you how to make a tassel gnome. So to do that, I just have some more macrame cords. Yeah, I have a thin piece here. I have these thicker pieces. It really doesn't matter. They're about 10 inches long, I'd say. 10 to 12 inches, depending on how long you want your beard to be. So you just take those and stack them together. And then I'm taking a piece of butcher twine. And this piece is probably, I don't know, let's say 16 inches long. I'm really not sure because I didn't measure. Because you really don't need to measure for all this. Then you're just going to tie right in the middle of that bundle. I'm trying to make sure my ends are even. But just tie that bundle together. Nice and tight. Fold it over, and then you can do a double knot to hold it all together. And this is going to be the boy version. This is going to be the bearded one. I'll show you how to do the girl version as well. We're going to brush it out really, really, really good. And then we have this little macrame ghost looking thing. And then we're going to take that, and I have my wooden bead, and I'm threading just a short piece of butcher twine through. It's probably maybe like 8 or 9 inches long. And we're going to tie the nose on to just a chunk of the beard hair. So you just kind of pull out a chunk that's going to be in the front and wrap that cord around it and then tie it really good and tight. This is one option for how to attach the nose. I will show you another one in just a minute, but just tie that off really good and then cut off the excess and fold it back over. And that's one way to attach your nose without needing any glue. Just get it nice and in place, and then I'll show you another way. I have another one here. I use a different cord. I'm just using stuff from my scrap bin, by the way, for all this. And there's some hats I made with some yarn. And I'm gonna go ahead and attach the hats for both. I'll show you the other nose option in just a second. But for attaching the hats, it's the same thing. You just thread that holding cord on and thread it through the hat. Then the other option for the nose is just to glue it on. So once you get the hat in place, I went ahead and put the hat on first. You're just going to put a little glue at the top there inside the hat and a little glue right there where you want the nose. And then just stick it on there. Figure out how you want the holes to be. I did the holes on the side like this. It almost looks like he has really big nostrils, but we'll just go with it. And then you just stick it up under there, and there you go. So if you have your hot glue gun out, that's kind of a faster way to do it. Then on my other gnome, I'm putting his hat on, same way, threading that holding cord on, putting it to the hat. Give him a little beard trim, both of them. Then we're just going to tie an overhand knot in the holding cords, trim off the excess cord. Same with this guy. There's our two little gnomes. See, one has a longer beard than the other. You can just do whatever you want with these. And I like this, the hats with the roving yarn and that sparkle yarn. So now we're going to do the girl version of this tassel one. Instead of holding them together, you brush out the two separate sides. And then you separate the side. We're doing the right side first into 3 sections, and then you just braid it. Just like we did before. And then again, once you get to the end, just tie your braid off. Then you can go ahead and cut the excess cord if you want, or if you're going to tie a bow, you can do that instead. And then just do the same thing with the other side. And then here's our 2 braids. Just want to make sure they're basically the same length. And now I have her a little purple hat, and I'm threading on the hanging cords and just poking them up through the hat with my needle, and then pull the braids up into the hat. And then you're just going to tie your little overhand knot in the top, however long you want your hanging cord to be, and cut the excess. Now we're going to attach the nose. So I'm grabbing my glue gun again, and I'm just going to carefully put some hot glue right here in the middle of these braids, but be careful it doesn't go through and burn your finger. And put a little up underneath the hat so it'll stick to that as well. And then just push it in there and make sure you got the holes of the bead so they're either on the sides or hidden in some way. And then again, with the ends, we're just going to trim them down, neaten that up a little bit. And then all of these gnomes are done. So that's another style. Now for the last style I'm going to show you is the roving gnome, and I'm very excited about this one. It actually was one of my favorites. So here's a hat I was making. I just wanted to show you. I used macrame cord for this, and since I used a different kind of cord to tie it off, I did want to kind of hide those ends, so I just threaded them onto my needle and poked them down into the hat. The good thing about using this macrame cord for this hat was this was way faster than adding the yarn. It's just a different look. I was going for lots of different looks. So there's our hat. Then I went ahead and trimmed off the excess for the pom-pom, just like I did for the other hats. And you see I have another one over there on the screen. So here's 2 hats I made for these gnomes. And then, oh, this one was fun. I used some chenille yarn I had on hand, and I just did the same thing, attached it to the ring. I made my pieces kind of long, longer than I should have, but that's just whatever. I don't make them that long. And then I trimmed it down, and I used one of this trick that I had in I had a video on my Yarn Stash channel about hacks for crochet, and one of them is that you melt the ends of the chenille yarn and it won't just like come apart like it does sometimes. It did make it a little brown, but I think it looks okay, and I don't have to worry about it falling apart. But I loved this hat, how it turned out. It was so cute and fluffy. Then I just took that twine and cut off the end, and you can't even see it because the yarn's so squishy. But those I'm going to set aside, and now we're going to make our gnomes with this. This is just wool roving. So with roving, you just want to pull it apart. You don't want to cut it. If you pull it like that, it'll look a lot nicer. And then you're just going to figure out how long you want it to be for your beard, how long you want your beard to be, or your hair. I'm doing the braids for this one. So I'm going to tie it right in the center. Make sure it's in the middle. Tie it real good and tight, and do a double knot. And then I want to do something a little bit different with this one. So instead of a braid, I did twists. So over on this side, I just split it into 2 sections, and I twisted it in one direction. I twisted it, I think that, what is this, counterclockwise? And I did the same with the other. I twisted it in the same direction. And then once I got it twisted up, I twisted them together going the opposite direction. And if you do that, it makes this little spiral twist. And I just kind of twisted them as I went. And it looks pretty cool, I think. I thought it was fun. And you can see my twists aren't perfect, but I think it's still cute and kind of rustic, so I'm going with it. And then just tie it off at the end, just like we did with the braids. And then I'm doing the same thing over on the other side. This one actually turned out better. I guess I kind of knew what I was doing more by this point. And then tie it off at the bottom. And then we're going to thread the holding cords up through this cute pink pom-pom hat. This turned out so cute. All right, and there we go. Just tie your little hanging cord at the top with an overhand knot. Cut off the excess, which I didn't show, but I did, I promise. Glue your nose on. I'm just gluing it to the hat and sticking it up in there. And then I'm gluing the braids to the hat a little bit on the inside where you can't see it. But there we go, our little cute twisted pigtail gnome. We'll put her aside, and then we're going to start on this guy. So I have this gray roving, and I'm doing the same thing again, just tying it right in the middle. Figure out how long you want it to be, depending on how long you want your gnome to be. And just tie a good double knot in the center. And then you're going to kind of brush it together. I didn't actually brush it, I used my fingers since this is roving. It'll just fall apart if I brush it. But push it, the hanging cord up through the hat just like before, giving him this chunky macrame cord hat. Tie your knot in the hanging cord, trim off the excess. And now we're just going to glue the bead right to the roving. So right here in the front. These ones were so fun. I just thought they turned out so cool and it was so easy. And then I'm going ahead and gluing the front of the nose to the hat a little bit too, and trying to make it so the glue doesn't show. And if it does, just scrape off the excess. I have this loom knitting hook that works really well for that. Then I decided to add a little bit of a mustache, so I just threaded some roving as a short piece onto my yarn needle and pulled it through the nose hole carefully. I almost pulled it all the way through. And then just kind of evened it out. Then you can just make it point downward, and it just makes this beard and mustache area look a little bit fuller. You could also twist it up and make him have the crazy mustache if you want. Then I'm doing this white one. I already tied it together and put the hat on. And this one is a little fuller. I used extra roving, so he's very fluffy. And go ahead and make your hanging cord, cut off the excess. It looks like a ghost with a hat. And then I'm just threading on a little bit of roving on my yarn needle. Pulling it through. This is another option for your mustache. And then I'm trying to kind of twist the ends. I didn't really get them to twist the way I wanted. I ended up just making it point downward as well because it just looked kind of crazy. But you could make a crazy looking old man gnome and it'd be kind of fun, I guess. Then go ahead and glue your nose up under the hat, just like that. And then just style his mustache how you like. And there's our 3 roving gnomes. And I just love how these ones turned out. After I got all these guys done, I added some cute little accessories to their hats. I just hot glued them in place. I found all these little cute, adorable things at Hobby Lobby. And there's just so many things you can do with this. You can add a ribbon, you can add dried flowers or beads or whatever you have on hand or anything you think of. Some buttons would be cute. There's just lots of fun options to make your gnome super cute. And my plan is I'm going to make a whole Christmas tree decorated with these little guys. I'm going to make some more and I'm going to share those videos on my YouTube shorts. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. And if you make any of these gnomes, please share a picture with me over on Instagram and tag me at Marching North. I would love to see them. Bye-bye!